Whoa, this is the Illusion reporting from somewhere on Spaceship Earth. So I was packaging up a piece of art, right? I was packaging up this piece of art, which is getting sent out to Vermont. So I was thinking about this piece of art. This art is from a while ago. This was before me and the hologram started dating. This is pre-kids. This is an interesting time in my life. So this piece of art, at the time, I was probably 3 years sober, and I'd finally gotten used to being with myself. And I was fully like into myself. I was living with my buddy Skylar, and Skylar at the time was like the most eligible bachelor in Malibu. And he would bring by all these like models and super hot girls and have extras and be like, dude, I have extras for you. And I would be like, no, thank you, man. And I would just go to my room and go do my art. And what it was I had spent so much time the previous couple years like being lonely, smoking my cigarettes, being, woe is God, why would you want me to be so lonely? So I'd finally like achieved like an inner peace with myself, and I was very much in peace with myself. And at the time, when you're at peace with yourself, you really see the madness around you, the chaos that spins around you, because you're not in the hurricane, you're in the eye of the hurricane. So I did this whole kind of series of pieces that were very much about symmetry and about being centered. So this one's called Laser Beam, right? So you get the gist of what's going on. I did a whole bunch of them at the time, different things, and I was writing the thing I write on the back, a little note about what was going on and what I think, and I realized that. Okay, I'm gonna make you something in a second, Birdie. I realized. Well, I asked you like a couple minutes ago, and you said you didn't want anything. Would you like some applesauce? No. What would you like? What would you like to eat? Hummus. You want some hummus? I'm here. All right. We'll finish this thought. Don't peel that, please. You're gonna have to work for it, okay? A growing boy must eat. Swim lessons day to day, so he needs to be properly fed. He just wants some hummus today. And so I was writing the thing on the back of this piece of art, talking about this, and I also realized that it's very much the Matrix. It's the Matrix. It's the grid pattern. And I was thinking about how when I go into the space of this thing it was very meditative for me, in the sense that I had to be super focused to do all the measurements to get this, because they're all like woven into each other. So I had to be very cognitive of what was going on, both with the overall scope of it, the measurements, and I had to use like control over my limbs. And yet at the same time, it was very much simple on a level, so I could just let go and I could get in the zone of numbers. I'd get my rulers out and I'd be making measurements and I would be doing all this stuff, but I couldn't lose my concentration, especially once I had penciled it out and then it came time to do the pen work. And I was thinking about how much like that linearness and centeredness was about me kind of being in control of my body and also being in control of the space I was occupying, and yet totally using the matrix to my benefit. It just like I was writing the thing, and that's why I'm making this video. I kind of had this revelation about, whoa, like that's kind of an artistic study of the matrix for me. And I was realizing that the matrix, as much as it is designed to enslave you, can also set you free. And I was like, whoa, that's a trip. And then I kind of had, like, I lifted my head up from the thing, and I was just, I don't know, I just saw the grid, right? Like, look at the square window, the nature going on out there. And I started to realize that the grid can, again, and I talk about this a lot, the grid can only enslave you unless you've chosen to be enslaved by it. Like the matrix can't control you once you've decided to be a free, sovereign human being connected to source energy. And I was like realizing that was what was going on when because I don't do this kind of art anymore. Like, I think my life's become very abstract and very free, and yet at the same time very like linear and gridded out. Like Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11:30, man, I jump into a pool with Al. We do swim lessons. That to me is very much Matrix-ish in the sense of where I was, which was chaos, to this thing which was order but freedom, right? And I think I talk about that a lot, and I could see it in this art when I was looking at it, was freedom through order. And I try to convey that a lot to like the minigram, is like, dude, you know how you get free is to get orderly so that you don't have to worry about a bunch of stuff. And in that thought, I was thinking about how the matrix is designed to have this order enslave us, right? You're supposed to get sucked into it. You're supposed to be enslaved by it. But there's this interface moment before it totally sucks you down into it. And you have a choice to make. Like, that's the one thing I understand listening to a lot of like people talk about spirituality and stuff like that, is you have free will, and your free will is to choose whether you're going to be enslaved by the matrix or free in the infinite love of God, universe, source energy. And that you can use the matrix to do this thing just the same way I'm using the matrix to broadcast this message, right? This message goes into the phone, it goes up into the satellites beam it back down. It's all ones and zeros, dude. Like, I don't quite understand it, but it's happening, right? So, but this same device, which has been scientifically proven to like do all sorts of weird stuff to your mind, can also free us at the same time. So again, I always go back to the thing is fear is the control mechanism. Fear is what the matrix does once it gets you into it, because you're afraid to leave it, you're afraid to be free, you're afraid to make your hair look ridiculous and walk around like that. Like, the freedom is because you don't have fear. And if you don't fear the matrix, you can use the matrix as a tool. And I don't know, like I'm formulating these ideas always constantly, and this art I made from roughly 5 years ago had this encapsulated this old idea, because I don't look at my art. Like, you got to understand, like, I finish it and put it in a bag. And that's it. So like, I actually was like looking at it kind of like, whoa, dude, that's sort of rad, dude. What is going on in there, dude? And how come I don't do that kind of stuff anymore? This piece is called Laser Beam. Chad and Kelly bought it. And it's just very interesting. I don't know. This is The Illusion, signing off.